Good evening, everyone. The Mobility Town Hall will begin shortly. We want to give people an opportunity to join us online. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes. Hello and good evening. I'm Stephanie Fisher. I am the Senior Director of Communications here at MARTA, and I want to welcome you to the Mobility Town Hall meeting. We appreciate you joining us tonight, and we are looking forward to sharing more about our mobility services, MARTA's upcoming projects, and answering your questions. We're going to start tonight by hearing from MARTA General Manager Collie Greenwood and our Chief Operating Officer George Wright. Then our Chief Capital Officer, Carrie Rocha, and members of her team will discuss an important project that has major service impacts. And then the Director of Mobility Services, Rick Gonzalez, will talk more about our mobility service, and then we will open it up for questions. Let's turn things over to our General Manager and CEO, Mr. Greenwood, and Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. My name is Collie Greenwood, General Manager of MARTA, and it's my distinct pleasure to be here with everyone tonight. Thanks to all of you that have taken the time out of your very busy schedules to join us for this very important conversation. I wanted to just level set by grounding ourselves in MARTA's vision, which is people taking people where they want to go today and tomorrow. In order to fulfill this vision, everyone at MARTA is working hard to make sure that our system is safer, cleaner, and more reliable for everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. The important roles that we play as a public transit agency is to provide transportation access to everyone who needs it. We recognize that for many people, public transit is one of the very few options that they have to get to where they need to go. But being a limited option doesn't mean you have to be a poor option, and this is what MARTA is working on, making sure that the option you choose when you choose MARTA is an excellent choice. Through MARTA Mobility and our regular rail and bus services, we provide people throughout the region access to jobs, medical appointments, the grocery store, social engagements, and so many other options in between. For those who either can't or don't want to drive a car, MARTA is here for them, and we intend to be here in a very strong way in all aspects of our service. MARTA's fixed route buses, trains, and rail stations are all designed to be accessible for seniors and individuals with disabilities. And as many of you know, we offer reduced fare Breeze cards to eligible senior citizens, people with disabilities, and Medicare card holders. And MARTA Mobility is here for customers who are unable to ride our fixed route MARTA services, serving over 60,000 people every month. Yes, it's our responsibility Yes, it's our duty, but more than that, it's our pleasure and our honor to serve the entire community and ensure everyone gets where they need to go. We're making a lot of significant improvements throughout our system. This year alone, we've begun upgrading Airport Station. We're preparing to transform our system hub 5 Points, and the first of our new state-of-the-art trains is scheduled to arrive later this year. Construction is also underway on our first bus rapid transit line, the MARTA Rapids Summerhill. We're doing all of this with all of our customers in mind, including those who ride MARTA Mobility. So let me establish that tonight is about listening. We're here to listen to you, our customers, and we're depending on you to let us know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. Your honest feedback is critically important to us as we work to improve the service and experience for you. Thank you for your time tonight, as I've said, and I'll be engaged throughout this conversation, listening intently to what it is you want to see improved, listening intently to those things that you may establish for us are good improvements that you don't want to change, and listening intently as our partners explain what it is we're doing next to further enhance your experience. But for now, I'm going to turn things over to George Wright, MARTA's Chief Operating Officer, to say a few words.
Thank you, Collie. Good evening. Again, my name is George Wright. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for MARTA. I have responsibility for service delivery and maintenance for all of MARTA's transit modes. Again, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy days. I know it's late in the evening, and really appreciate the fact that you as customers, our partners and others are engaged in listening to the messages and content that we're going to share with you today. To our customers, I am here to listen, learn, respond, and improve. Also to our customers, our partner providers, and the MARTA Mobility Oversight Team, operational performance excellence is not a nice to have. It is a must-have for our customers. Ultimately, I expect MARTA to become a best-in-class solution when it comes to delivering ADA services and experiences. Thank you. Stephanie?
I'd now like to introduce MARTA's Chief Capital Officer, Carrie Rocha, and members of her Capital Programs Management Team, Kelly Davis and Ramon Moultrie, and invite them up here to the podium to talk more about an upcoming project, the 5 Points Transformation Project, and its service impacts.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. As she has stated, my name is Carrie Rocha, Chief Capital Officer here at MARTA. Next slide, please. Next slide. So I have with me Kelly Davis, our Director of Facilities Program Management, and Ramon Moultrie, our Project Manager for the 5 Points Transformation Project. Next slide, please. Here's a rendering of the proposed 5 Points Transformation, and just for clarity, the 5 Points Transformation Project is for the concourse and plaza levels. We already have an ongoing station rehabilitation project, which is for the platform levels. This transformation project will only impact the concourse and the plaza levels for this project. To orient you, on the left side, the roadway there is Forsyth Street. Towards the bottom where you see the bus bays is Alabama Street, and to the right is Peachtree Street. Next slide, please. So as we embark on replacement of the current canopy and replacing it with the new, more open concourse and canopy, this is our timeline as proposed. We started outreach May 29th. We made an announcement through our MARTA board as well as through the City of Atlanta Transportation Committee. On July 6th, we will begin bus detours, and I'll get into the details on those, and starting to erect the crane that we need to be able to deconstruct the canopy. And on July 26th, we plan to have full relocation of our ride store, our lost and found, our reduced fare office, our Hope office, and the MPD Central Precinct to Ashby. And then July 29th, we will begin street and pedestrian access closures. So just to note, this does not impact rail-to-rail passengers, so you can go north, south, east, west, through, continue doing that through 5 Points, but access through the plaza and the concourse level will be closed. I also acknowledge, and we're going to go through some of the details on how we can access some of the elevators, because we do have challenges with elevators and making sure that everyone can, whether you're pushing a stroller in a wheelchair or need better access, that you can make these connections, these very important connections. There is a temporary reopening that we are planning during the World Cup Games, and then the project will be complete in 2028. Next slide, please. So for deconstruction, which is the engineered dismantling of the current canopy structure, and demolition, which is the demolishing of the existing pieces that are on the plaza and concourse level, there will be no pedestrian access at these levels. And this is simply because we need to install a very detailed false work system across the entire concourse level, as well as building all the way up to the canopy level. This is an engineered deconstruction, so for every piece that we cut and remove, there is an engineered process for it in order for us to be able to safely get it off of the plaza and dismantle the entire structure. The plaza and concourse level fare gates will be closed. There will be no access to restrooms and no elevator access to the concourse level. This concourse closure is planned for 18 months, but we will need to see how far we get in the deconstruction, as well as the demolition, and as the work progresses. So we'll be reassessing that. Accommodations will be made to open an entrance and make the entire area welcoming for the World Cup. And lastly, construction will continue through 2028. Next slide, please. As I noted, we would be relocating the services listed here to the Ashby Station. And again, the MARTA Police Precinct will continue to police within the 5 Point Station. However, their headquarters for the precinct will be at Ashby. Next slide, please. We will be relocating or detouring several buses. 5 buses listed here will be detoured to Georgia State. 2 bus routes will be detailed to King Memorial, and 1 will be detoured to Civic Center. And we will be planning on putting notifications as well as signage out for these temporary relocations. The 3 routes will be routed through the 5 Points area. That's Route 3, Route 40, and Route 813. Next slide, please. So the next few slides are just instruction slides, and we continue to refine these, and we want to be working with the community on this. So your input is very important in how we sign this, and as well as the solutions that we've offered. We've worked with our operations planning group to put forth these solutions, and so again, we're open to discussion on how we can make this better. To transfer by elevator from south to west, at 5 Points, you would use the elevator to transfer to eastbound, using the elevator at Georgia State to transfer to westbound, or you can use the mobility shuttle from Peachtree Center Station to Georgia State. Next slide. From west to south, you would not get off at 5 Points, but would continue west to GWCC, return eastbound to 5 Points, and then take the elevator to southbound. An alternative is to use the mobility shuttle from Georgia State to Peachtree Center. Next slide. From north to east, at 5 Points, you would use the elevator to transfer to westbound, using the elevator at GWCC to transfer to eastbound, or again, using the mobility shuttle from Peachtree Center to Georgia State. Next slide. And lastly, east to north. You do not get off at 5 Points. You would continue eastbound to Georgia State, use the elevator at Georgia State to transfer to the westbound platform, exiting at 5 Points and using the elevator to northbound. And as an alternative, we will be providing mobility shuttle from Georgia State to Peachtree Center. Next slide. This is a map of the the full transfer shuttle running between Georgia State and Peachtree Center. We anticipate the service hours will match our service hours at 22 hours and headways of approximately 5 minutes. As we did during the airport shutdown, we will do a load and go. So as customers are available and ready, we will be moving those shuttles along. We anticipate that the round trip would be 10 minutes. And we'll be using, anticipate 3 buses or 3 shuttles, and we will adjust as needed. Next slide. And this is just an overview, as I just discussed, of the different elevators. You can see the eastbound, westbound in the middle in yellow. In the top left, you can kind of see that cross section of Five Point Station with the north-southbound lines running at the lowest level and east-west running in the middle level. Next slide. And now I'll turn it over to Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Richard Gonzalez. I'm the Director of Mobility Services. And the first thing I want to do is thank all the great people who are taking time out to view this town hall and participate in it, because it shows me how important this service is to you. And I'm looking forward to outlining some of our service standards and some of our scope of work, and I'm looking forward also to the question and answer period. Now, we have some guests here today, and I would like to introduce them, and I'm going to upfront thank them for being here. We're going to start off with Ms. Woodson. Ma'am, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself and your organization.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Good evening. My name is Donna Woodson. I am the Director, the Operations Manager of the Mobility Management Department at MARTA Mobility for the Operations and Maintenance Department. I'm pleased to be here this evening. I'm pleased to finally be able to have an opening, an outlet to hear from our passengers. This is vitally important to me, as well as my co-workers and my partners, so that we can hear from you this evening to help us to better serve you. At this time, I'll introduce Ms.
Thank you. And Ms. Rosalind Lorick, who's with TransDev, she's going to tell us a little bit about what they do, and also she's going to introduce her special guest.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rosalind Lorick. I'm the general manager over the call center, which is ETA, scheduling, and I'm sorry, y'all, ETA, scheduling, and dispatch. And I'm glad to be here, and it's a pleasure. At this time, I would like to introduce Regional Director of the Southeast area for TransDev, Jay Washburn.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to participate in this event. As Rosalind said, my name is Jay Washburn. I am the new Regional Director of Operations for the Southeast here for TransDev. First of all, I want to thank you for the partnership opportunities that we have with you. One of TransDev's commitments to MARTA Atlanta area and the ridership is my position and being based here in the Atlanta area, so that I'm on the ground and in the area on a regular basis to be able to help support the local team, Donna, Roz, and the operations here. Excuse me. Our primary goals, like MARTA, are always to focus on safety and timeliness in what we do. Safety is first and foremost for our passengers and for our drivers and our personnel always. We have had some struggles recently with our on-time performance, and we're working very diligently to work through those issues for everyone and to try and improve those as rapidly as we can. So thank you.
Hey, thank you, Jay. That was very kind of you. Now I want to introduce one of the most handsome men on this dais, Mr. Maddox, sir, if you can introduce your company and introduce your special guest.
Okay, sure. My name is Derek Maddox. I'm the general manager for A National Transit. We also deal with the day-to-day maintenance, as well as the operational side piece to ensure that we're able to provide the service as well. At this time, I would like to introduce our CEO, Mr. Daryl Anderson, and he can speak more in depth.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daryl Anderson. I'm the president and CEO of A National Limousine Service, A National Transit. I'm happy to be here today and be a part of what I consider one of the great transit organizations in the country that is working every day to improve and provide great services for the citizens. I've been in transportation for 42 years, and I've been excited to be a part of the Mount MARTA team and the opportunities that it has given my company to be able to be a part of servicing the citizens of Atlanta. We have some outstanding people under the leadership of Derek Maddox and Mr. Winston Cooper, who handles the administration side. But I just want to thank Mr. Greenwood. I want to thank Mr. Wright and, of course, Richard for the opportunity you all have given us. We buy into the vision of MARTA 100% in servicing the citizens, some of our most vulnerable citizens in the city of Atlanta. Every day, we look for the opportunity to work harder, to improve our services, to make sure that we do the job that the customer expect, and just to go a little further, to exceed customer expectation. That's what I've had challenged my team with, and that's what we will continue to do as long as we are part of the MARTA team. Thank you. It was a pleasure for being here.
Mr. Anderson, thank you for those words. You're always appreciated when you show up and spend some time with us. I know your time is valuable, so thank you, sir, for making time to be here. So
thank you for having me.
Oh, heck.
Richard.
So great. So I'm going to walk you through our presentation objectives. We've just introduced all our mobility partners, and we're going to talk about what paratransit is and what our ADA service is. We're going to talk about, our goals, our service enhancements, how we're delivering that services, and we're going to own some things, and we're going to talk about how we're going to overcome them and move forward. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide, please. There is an FTA definition of what paratransit is, and I'm not going to bore you with that. What's important to note is that we pick up our most vulnerable population and people with special needs and reasonable accommodations, and we transport them wherever they want to go within our service area. And of course, our service area is 3/4 of a mile on each side of an established bus route or rail track. So next slide, please. So to really talk about what we are and who we are, I'm going to talk about our mantra. I'm going to talk about our mission statement. MARTA Mobility impacts individual access to healthcare, essential goods and services, interactions with friends and family, and ability to work or attend school, as well as a host of other activities, by making the future more accessible for everyone. Now, I'm just not reading that out. I mean, we really mean this. And on a personal level, my mother's a snowbird, and when she comes back from Ohio to South Florida, she uses the service. And thank heavens for that, and because she has issues with driving, but she faces the same obstacles. She has the same frustrations that you may have using the service down there as you do here. And as a matter of fact, when her bus is late or she gets inappropriately mistripped, I get a phone call. And it doesn't make me her favorite son when I tell her there's nothing I can do to help her out. But what I'm trying to say is not only sympathy do we have for riders that have an issue or a bad experience, empathy, we feel it. We feel bad about it. You are not just dismissed. You're not just another number. Whether you are talking to a reservationist under Ms. Chestnut's team trying to, work out a new ride, or you get a hold of me and we have a conversation, as many of you have in the past, or if you're having issues with eligibility, every time there's an issue, we understand how you feel, and we don't like it. Whether you're late for a doctor's appointment and now you have to rebook, or you're trying to get to church and the van shows up late or gets lost. These things mean something to us, and we're going to be talking more about that. So next slide, please. We talk about mobility services, but they're divided up into different components, and many of these components you are familiar with, starting off with eligibility certification, and that is Mr. Roosevelt Stripling's team. And you go through those certification to make sure the service is right for you. And then once you get through that, there's some excellent travel training. Now, those of you who have done the travel training and you've seen our mock-up of a train and a bus, and you've seen the Breeze card machines, I gotta tell you, not a lot of other agencies have that training to that level. You walk on different surfaces. That's rare, and it's outstanding that MARTA travel training does provide that opportunity. From there, you go to reservations, and once again, that's Miss Chestnut's team, where people are there to help you out and book your trip. And that's important because you know what's great about her team is if you don't know where exactly the address is for that Walmart you're going to, they help you find the right address and get you there with patience and professionalism, and that's amazing. So once your trip is booked, you go to Mobility Operations, where the excellent partners I've introduced, that's where they take over, and they work very hard to get you from A to B in a safe and enjoyable manner. So finally, mobility maintenance, and I want to give kudos to them. We have the summer coming on, and there is some AC campaigns going to make sure that you stay comfortable throughout this Georgia heat, and they're doing an amazing job on keeping those vehicles clean and well maintained. Next slide, please. So, we're going to go through our service delivery amenities, and we're going to be talking about some tools for you to use. Now, I got to tell you, when I got out of college, I sold Pepsi Cola for a little bit, and I'm going to hopefully sell you on 3 things that are going to improve your MARTA experience. And you know what's great about them? It won't cost you a dime. So hopefully it'll be an easy sell, and let's talk about some of the things that will improve your MARTA experience. Next slide, please. So an online mobility application. Now, like I said, many of you have gone through eligibility there and taken that bus ride to the annex. Well, you know what? You also have the ability to do that process online. And that is if you just type in eligibility.itsmarta.com. Once again, that's eligibility.itsmarta.com. It's an excellent way to either get eligible for their service and perhaps even renew eligibility for the service. So next slide, please. And you can also plan your mobility trips online. Don't worry about making that phone call and waiting in the queue. All you have to do is log on to passitsmarta.com/account/login. You know what? This is such an amazing feature. Let's repeat that again. That's pass.itsmarta.com/account/login. Once again, you're not waiting in a queue to get to a reservationist. You can go ahead and book your trip online. It helps with convenience. It helps with self-reliance. It's something I really hope that everybody takes advantage of. And our most important feature that I really hope you take advantage of, next slide please, is My Transit Manager. This is an app that you can load down on your phone, whether it be through Google Play or the App Store. And with this app, you're able to get your ETAs and find out where that bus is. And also, you can cancel a trip. So once again, this is an app you can download through the App Store if you have an Apple, or Google Play if you have a Google phone. And once again, you don't have to call in, get into that queue, get that ETA, get that ETA operator and have her look it up for you. It's something you can know instantly. And more importantly, a lot of you are always worried about how long it takes to cancel a trip. Well, with this app, you can do it lickety-split on your own. Now, let's cover 2 things here that are very important. If you prefer to talk to a real person, that option is still open for you. And also, if you are nervous about using this technology and you have someone that's with you that can help, well, gosh, that's okay by us. We think that's great. Don't hesitate to have someone assist you to do that. We're just trying to make the experience more positive. We're trying to make you, more self-reliant, if you wish. So keep an eye out on the website and also our bulletins, because we're going to be putting some YouTube tutorials up to show you how to use these apps. And also, we might even do some, well, heck, you know what, I'm going to go ahead. We are going to do some live Teams demonstrations too. And we'll be holding those on a periodic basis, in a consistent basis, so be on the lookout for that. Next slide, please. We talk about travel training and outreach initiatives, and we talk about, driving here to eligibility and going through that process and getting the travel training there. But you know what? We can come to you. We many times from the Shepherd Center to Oliver House Living, we've done travel training, and we do outreach, like for instance at Alani Housing, Disability Link, Fraser Center. Always happy to come out and meet with you one-on-one. If you have a group of people that you can bring together and invite us out there to work with them, whether it be for travel training and on-site eligibility processing, we would love to do that. And it's something that we're going to be doing more of in the future. So, you know, keep an eye on this space and look for those announcements. We are also going to really work on just doing more Q&As, you know, one-on-one. So looking forward to that. Next slide, please. So this slide right here, we're going to talk about because it's something I'm not proud of. Heck, it's something I'm not happy with. And we're going to talk about that very first category, on-time performance. And we're going to go to the right. And so far, for fiscal year 24 to date, our OTP is 84.448%. Now, our goal is 90%. So that is nowhere near goal. It's nowhere near acceptable. And you know what? On-time performance is a very important number because when the OTP is going well, everything else goes well. You know, it's just, it cascades either good or bad. If OTP is a problem, if that on-time performance is a problem, then everything's a problem. Once again, that's not a number I am happy with. And I know that our providers, our private site partners are not happy with it either. So I'm going to do something right here. I'm going to challenge them. You know, I'm going to ask them to commit to improving this OTP. I'm going to ask them to verify to them they understand the importance of OTP and all of these categories. And I'm going to start by asking Mr. Anderson if you can come to the podium, sir, and commit to this challenge.
Mr. Gonzalez, I will absolutely commit to that challenge.
Mr. Anderson, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I'm going to ask Jay if you can come up, sir, and will you also take up this challenge?
On behalf of TransDev, we are definitely committed to improving these numbers and meeting these performance standards for the on-time.
Gentlemen, I appreciate this commitment, and I appreciate the seriousness that you have taken up the challenge with. So that is fantastic. Now I'm going to go back to the graph, and I want to point out some positives that are there. Mean distance between failures, and that's basically, in a nutshell, how often the van breaks down. And you see in that red, that's green, and that is because our private partners take the maintenance of these vehicles seriously. They take the cleanliness of these vehicles seriously, and I want to thank them for that. And right below that, preventable accidents, that's also in the green. That means they have made goal. They take safety very seriously, and they have worked hard, each of these organizations, to build a culture of safety. And we're going to, just as they take that serious, as you have seen, we're going to be improving the on-time performance also serious. And let's talk about how we're going to reach that goal. Next slide, please. So one of the things that's happened that we're very excited about, that we have brought on new partners to assist us in this endeavor: USERV, Silver Ride, Big Star Transit. Now, these are new companies that are bringing some unique assets to the table. You've always seen our traditional paratransit vans called cutaways, or maybe the smaller minivans that have ramps. These companies will bring in sedans, minivans, SUVs to the service. Now, I got to tell you, their drivers belong to the same drug testing regime that our other paratransit drivers do. Their drivers receive the same level of training that our drivers do. They all have badges identifying themselves as MARTA contractors, and the vehicles have MARTA mobility branding. Now, like I said, you're used to our big vans, and you're used to our little minivans, and you're used to that big splashy branding that we have on the side that I'm so proud of. But these, although they may be branded slightly different, they are branded, they are part of our service, and we are happy to have them on board. Now, something else I want to talk about too that I missed that we're also bringing to the table, and that is we're also working on, you know what, I'm gonna address that later on down the line, hang on, because this is important, but I want to hold on a second before I bring it up. And next slide, please. And here we go, challenges. So challenges, what has worked, what has not. So what is important, and our private partners can attest to that, we have open communication between them, frequent contacts between them, and these aren't just meetings where we look to hear the same things from them. These are meetings where we really work to understand their challenges, what we can do to help them overcome them, what they're doing to address what they can address, to control their controllables. And in-house, we have what's called synergy meetings, and that's where I meet with my amazing team of Miss Kalisha Davis, Roosevelt Stripling, Delton. I can go on and on about the great people that have also committed themselves to this program. And we talk about what we can do to improve the service, and are we doing the right things? Is the MARTA team doing the right things? The oversight team to make this better? So how we've been driving improvement recently, I got to give kudos to a Mr. Delton Quarles, who's worked hard to make sure that the Trapeze software that we use gets upgraded. He has made sure that all the computers and in the dispatch and ETA have been upgraded. He has worked with the IT team to get our servers in better condition so that they're more stable. That is fantastic. Also, he's working, and this is important, this is the thing I said was important that I wanted to bring up to you. We're looking at, with the present software we have, Trapeze, to go ahead and schedule the trips a little bit differently. You know, right now we're doing kind of as the crow flies, and he's going to work on it so that way we're scheduling as the road is, which is a more, it gives us more realistic it gives us more realistic look of what was needed in the service to make things more efficient and doable. And you know, like I said, the more realistic data we have, the better service we can give you. And it's something that I'm happy that he's working with. And I'm going to be introducing to our private partners the ability to pre-position assets during peak hours that can act as, in the business we call them shooter routes or ride or rescue. You know, to be there already if something goes awry with a route, they'll be able to kind of a quick reaction of assisting the riders who would have been on that route or on that route. And it is something that we will be planning and working on in the future. So this is important. Also, how healthy is our continuous quality improvement culture? And I can tell you it is very healthy. As you saw, our private partners understand what is needed to improve service and provide you the level of service that you deserve. And I got to tell you, everybody on the MARTA team also understands this. And we all work every day to monitor the daily KPIs. There's a word for you, KPIs. That's key performance indicators, and that's what, you know, we talked about OTP, that on-time performance. We talked about mean distance between failures. That's a KPI. Those are the numbers, categories that are very important, and we watch them and we discuss them hour to hour about, you know, asking questions. What's going wrong? Hey, what's going right? We had an amazing day today. So, you know what the meeting is going to be about tomorrow? What went right, and how can we continue that? So, you know, I appreciate your patience, and I hope you can see what we're doing to immediately improve this service. Next slide, please. So what's next? What's coming down the road that's maybe not so immediate, but it's going to be happening soon? And we have new contracts coming out for operations and maintenance. We have a central scheduling, dispatch, and ETA software contract that's going to be had, and when you see that get installed, it's going to have an immediate positive impact, and I'm excited about that. We'll talk about that in a moment. We're doing we're also looking at eligibility certification, because once again, we want to make sure that this service is right for you, and maybe there's a way we can enhance your experience, and that's what the eligibility and contingent eligibility process is going to be about. And finally, we go back to that software to increase efficiency. I'm not going to bore you with technical terms, but it's all the software we're looking at has frequent route optimization, and that's a fancy word for constantly moving trips around, so that way you get the quickest and the safest ride possible. Next slide, please. And I'm going to tell you right now, my favorite part of this town hall is coming up, and that is the question and answer period. I look forward to hearing your comments.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Gonzalez. And as Rick mentioned, we are going to head into the question and answer period tonight. I'm so glad to see so many people online and providing questions. We also have some pre-submitted questions that you have sent us in the days prior to this event. So let's get started. Karen Brundage is joining us tonight, and she has asked, why do we have to pay for MARTA when, say, our doctor has prescribed that we need this service for our health matters? And Ms. Brundage would like to know, why is it so expensive?
Thank you for that question, and it's an important one. And I would like to point out, like I said at the beginning, we are a complementary service to fixed route. And just like in fixed route, you would pay a fare, with MARTA mobility services, you also have to pay a fare.
I would just add to that relatively speaking, the price that the customer pays is very small compared to the actual cost of the ride. The requirement for a doctor's notification establishes what Mr. Gonzalez was talking about when it comes to eligibility. It doesn't mean that the ride is free. So everyone pays for the service to the extent that our policies dictate that, and the doctor's notification is to simply establish eligibility.
Leisha Miller is interested in the date and the age of our vehicles and wondering when we plan on replacing some of the outdated vehicles.
Well, I like a question that I can answer, and that is one I can answer. We are immediately bringing 10 new vehicles into the service. We're in the process of finishing the procurement of them, and I'm very excited about them. And we also have a vehicle replacement plan that is going to be put into effect, where every year we're going to be retiring quite a large portion of our fleet as we bring in newer vehicles. So, mind you, this replacement plan is going out 10 years. So there will be a constant rotation of out with the old and in with the new.
Sharon Beatty is joining us online, and she has concerns about the timeliness and professionalism of drivers. And I know you were speaking with some of our partners as well earlier about timeliness, on-time performance, that type of thing.
You know, that is fantastic. And you know what, I'm going to give Ms. Woodson an opportunity to talk to the question of the timeliness and the professionalism of the operators and how important it is to them and what they are doing to make sure that they are providing a well-trained and and a professional operator.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. On-time performance is extremely important because every passenger that we transport need to get to where they need to get to on time and safe. And we would definitely want to make sure that all of the trips that we provide are on time and safe, because we want to provide that reliable transportation. We are currently doing multiple things, looking at the root causes for our operators to travel and get people where they need to go late. That is not acceptable behaviors, and we have identified several different things through observation and just periodically checking the operators, looking through data. So we're currently researching everything in order to find out ways that we can train them, retrain them, educate, all the way through from discipline through just making sure that they have all the tools necessary to provide that trip on time. So we are committed, just as Mr. Gonzalez and my other partners here tonight, we are committed to making sure that all of our passengers are picked up on time and taken where they need to go safely.
C. Murray has a couple of comments that maybe we can address. Says that they want priority for those individuals going to a doctor's appointment, and that they believe mobility time should not be based on big bus times or the fixed route times.
You know, that's a great question. And, this is the part where maybe I get to explain the scope of work and help kind of craft your expectations of the service. And first off, as far as trip prioritization, we are not allowed by the FTA to do that. The lady that's trying to go to a grocery store or a medical appointment has the same right to get there on time as the lady who's just going to go watch a movie or maybe is going to go to a festival. That is important. Just like the fixed route bus is not going to prioritize and quickly go to a doctor's appointment from someone else. They're going to make sure everybody else can ring the bell and get off at their assigned stops. We cannot do that on paratransit. Now, also, when you talk about the length on the bus, this is important to note. And once again, I'm going to personalize this. When I drive to work from my house, it takes me 14 minutes. Now that I don't have to drop my kid off at school, I'm taking Route 12, quite frequently, and that takes me 42 minutes, 45 minutes. The FTA, who governs this program, tells me that if I was taking paratransit from my house to where I work or to my destination, I would have the length it takes me to get there on fixed route plus 30 minutes. Now, I gotta tell you, it does sound a little onerous, and we work hard not to keep you on the bus that long, but we are allowed that time by the FTA because we are a shared ride service and we're a specialized service. And I do apologize if sometimes if it seems you're on the bus too long, and we do work to avoid, we call them violations. We work to avoid those onboard violations very, very hard. And thank you for that question.
And Rick, there have been several follow-up comments just about the long onboard times.
Yes, ma'am.
What do we consider a violation? What length of time?
That is great. Per the FTA, if it takes me, and I'm going to keep the math simple, if it takes you an hour to go someplace, either on a bus or rail, the FTA will say if they're on that bus for more than an hour and 30 minutes, violation. And like I said, don't ever hesitate to reach out with those concerns. Like, I believe I was on the bus too long. Please reach out to us and let's talk about that, and we can pull it up and we can compare it to a fixed route trip and see if maybe the failure was on our part and we need to do better. And that's how we do get better. When someone does, hey, perception is reality. Call us, talk to us. Let's take a look at that trip.
And I believe that 30 minutes helps to accommodate or account for the time it takes a customer on fixed route to walk to the bus stop, wait for the bus, perhaps make a transfer. So that cumulative effect will feed into that 30-minute differential.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the trips, Victoria Evans is joining us, and she asked, how do you plan trips if you have more than one before going home? Are customers limited to one round trip per day?
You know what? I had a rider call me today about that very thing. So I once again, thank you for giving me questions that I can answer. So you can ride as many times as you like, as many trips as you can fit into the day. That, please take it. However, and there comes here is the rub. When you get to a location, you must stay at that location for a minimum of 1 hour before the second trip can come and pick you up. Now, you never hesitate to reach out to eligibility. All this stuff is in our great rider's guide that Mr. Roosevelt Stripley and our staff have put together. So any questions like that, if you believe we're being unfair or you only had to stay there for 10 minutes and you don't believe you should have to wait for the other 50 for your ride, give us a holler and let's talk about it. Once again, we love, talking with our customers, really, letting them understand the scope of our service. And once again, how do we do that? Calling on in.
Udanza Bush says that she has filed several complaints and would like to know more about what our complaint resolution process is like. How long does it typically take us for a response?
Well, I'm going to go. When we talk for how they only have a certain amount of time to respond to a complaint, and I'm going to ask Ms. Kalisha Davis to come to the podium and talk about that complaint process. She is the operations manager for MARTA Mobility Services. So there's a lot of M's, and she's by far started off as an operator, by the way. Ms. Davis started about as an operator and is by far one of the most knowledgeable and professional transit professionals you will ever meet. Ms. Davis, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kalisha Davis. As Mr. Gonzalez mentioned, I am the Operations Program Manager for MARTA Mobility. To Mr. Greenwood, Mr. Wright, as well as my fellow mobility partners. To answer the question, and Mr. Norman can tap me on my shoulder if I misstate something. Contractually, our contractors have a three-day turnaround from the time that they receive the complaint to investigate, make sure that everything is proper, and then respond back to MARTA's customer service office for MARTA's customer service office to then reach out to the customer who lodged the original complaint. During the investigation process by our contractors and sometimes by the oversight team, depending on the severity of the complaint, videos are pulled, interviews are held with the operators and or whoever else is involved to kind of get the whole story. And once we have the full story of what happened, we are then able to determine whether or not the complaint is valid or invalid, and we feed that information back to customer service for them to reach out directly to the customers. For the more elevated complaints of a more egregious nature, we, the oversight team, our contract managers, as well as Mr. Wright and Mr. Greenwood, have at times reached out to customers just to ensure that whatever transpired was definitely not intended by MARTA, and that we will do everything in our power to make sure at minimum that situation does not occur again. So that kind of sums up our complaint process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Davis.
We do have a positive comment, several positive comments. Many customers have commented on their positive experience with the My Transit Manager, Rick, so that's some good news there. Let me grab, I have some of the questions that were pre-submitted, and I want to ask a few of those. One of our customers says that they live within one of the counties in which MARTA provides service, so why are there certain locations within that county in which Mobility will not provide service?
You know what, I want to apologize if you are not getting that service, but once again, we have a service area, and that service area, per the FTA guidance and direction, is 3/4 of a mile on each side of an already established rail system or bus route. And mind you, if you can get within that service area for the pickup, we are more than happy to assist you in getting you to that location, which also has to be within the service area. So, you know what, more to come, that the service is growing. You know, there's some stuff coming down the pike that that's exciting, but as of right now, our ADA complementary service, it's 3/4 of a mile, once again, on already established routes.
Just to pick up on that, Mr. Gonzalez is referring to some of the fixed route changes that MARTA is contemplating right now. So we have MARTA Rapid Services being established. We've got a bus network redesign being that we're undergoing, and the net result of those changes may in fact expand the number of fixed route locations throughout the region. So that would follow that our mobility service, being 3/4 of a mile adjacent to those routes, will also expand.
What are the duties of a PCA companion? For example, if a customer has a PCA companion and they have a door-to-door assistance on the manifest, are the operators still required to assist the customer from the door?
You know what, that is a great question. And when it comes to PCA and that type of travel training, we have with us today a Mr. Roosevelt Stripling, who's the head of that eligibility department, and also the author and the editor of our rider's guide. And he's going to go up to the podium, and he's going to talk about the responsibilities of a PCA and the expectation that we have for the PCA in making sure that is a safe ride. Mr. Roosevelt, I do appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. To answer that question regarding PCA, essentially a personal care assistant, FTA says that could be anyone and for any reason. That PCA does not have to be an individual who provides service to that individual for the trip itself, meaning that they're not necessarily there to assist that person to board or to assist that person to alight from the vehicle. The PCA can be an individual who, for example, the person needs someone to provide comfort for them, or an individual who, when they get to their destination, they need to provide them assistance at that destination. So that can be the role of the PCA. And so we do encourage individuals, number one, if they need a PCA, to utilize a PCA, but also if they need other assistance to have a companion to ride with them. As it relates to the requirements for the operator is required to provide origin and destination services, door-to-door assistance. One, if the customer requests it, then we should provide that assistance. Also, we ask that and train our operators to be diligent and observant. And if they see that a customer needs additional assistance, for them to be able to provide that assistance to the customer, so they can provide door-to-door assistance. And just as while I'm speaking on the topic, door-to-door assistance is not to break the plane of the door. So the individual, the operator, is not permitted to go into a facility or go into someone's home, take bags into the home to turn on an alarm or turn off an alarm, different things like that. So operator is restricted in some of the things that he or she is able to do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roosevelt, and we're very fortunate to have you with the Mobility Leadership Team. Thank you.
We have somebody who submitted a question prior to the event and asking, when will we accept credit cards?
That's a great question. There are a number of current opportunities for someone to load their Breeze cards using credit cards, but I believe the question is more directed at direct tap or the ability to just walk on and use a credit card. Our Breeze Mobile 2.0 allows people to load the card with credit cards and then tap through the system, but our automated fare collection system, which is AFC 2.0, will be ready in time for mid-26, the World Cup. And that program will allow you to use your credit card, your watch, any NFC-enabled device to access service.
One of our customers is wondering why they can't get the same driver that they feel really works well with them on the days that that driver is working.
You know what, that's a very fair question. And I got to tell you, there are drivers out there that put their heart and soul into this service. And just great individuals that, I couldn't imagine them going anywhere. Well, thank God they don't go anywhere else. I'm very happy they're on our service, providing that care and, and attention. So there is someone here from scheduling and dispatch that puts those routes together. And she's going to go ahead and explain to us why sometimes you can have the driver on the same route, on the same pickup every day. And that is Miss Rosalind. Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon. So the scheduling team comes in, and it all depends on where your route is at and where it's going. And it all depends on the route, the traffic, where is that person's heading. And if that person is heading in a different area, then when the scheduling teams put all the routes together, it shows and it tells on the manifest which is a good place and where is the fastest route for that person to go. And that's basically it.
Thank you very much. And I'm gonna tell our viewers a secret, and I don't want them to tell anybody else. This is just gonna stay between us. If I leave here right now and I fall into a hole and I disappear, you know what? This service is still gonna go. The vans are still gonna roll out. Eligibility will keep working, reservations, dispatch will keep working. Because you know what? The most important employee we have, the most important team member on this service is the driver, period. The most important person every day that goes out and provides this service is the driver. So if you have a good driver and someone that has made it such made that experience positive, call in and give them accommodation. Because these our private partners recognize that, and they let that driver know and they track those accommodations. So, just as you should, call in if you have less than a perfect experience with an operator. If you have a great experience, you make that phone call too, and you let them know. Thank you, ma'am.
And there are countless vehicle mechanics that might challenge Richard's assumption.
We have one of our customers who says that UServe is a great service, but there's often a miscommunication between MARTA and UServe. When trips are canceled, UServe is not notified. What is the process to notify each other and/or the customer in these instances?
Well, thank you very much for that. UServe is new, and that had been an issue in the past, but now every UServe driver, and I'm going to go about I call them the big three, the three newest services that we have brought on board: UServe, Big Star, Silveride. They are all getting the tablets, and the tablets have a driver interface, an operator interface that can notify them immediately of any trip cancellations and or trip changes. And we have these great customers that are always worried about early cancellations because they're counted and everything. I want to tell you something. If you called in and you had a cancellation and we failed to get that to the operator in time and that van pulls up, that is on us. It is not you. It is not on you. Do not worry. That is not counted against you.
Ramunda Bostic would like clarification on the rule regarding scooters versus motorized wheelchairs. She says that she was denied a ride because she would not move to a seat. Her wheelchair is large, but it's not a scooter.
There is absolutely no requirement that you have to transfer to a seat if you're on a mobility device. And if that does happen to you, we ask that you immediately contact us so that we can address that.
One of our users is asking, what is the maximum weight of the lifts on the mobility vans, and what happens if the power on the lift isn't working? Will they still be able to board? And if they're picking me up, will I be able to exit the van if they're dropping me off?
It is, so the maximum weight is between 600 to 800 pounds, depending on the lift. If the lift breaks down, which it does infrequently, you are able to use the hydraulics to lift you up and get you on that van and also bring you down on the van. To bring you down on the lift, manually.
Mm-hmm. And can I just jump into the previous response? Mr. Gonzalez was accurate that there's no MARTA requirement, but I will say that if you look at your mobility device, some devices recommend to the customer that they not ride on a scooter while they're on a vehicle, that they transfer themselves onto the seat for stability purposes and 3 points of contact and all of that. So while MARTA doesn't make it a hard and fast rule, it is more often than not in the customer's best interest to follow the manufacturer's recommendations.
Thank you, sir. That's such a solid point. When the operator suggests that, he's not doing it to try to inconvenience you. He's doing that because he cares about your safety. And putting you in a seat, a regular seat with a seatbelt, is the safest thing you can do. Now, once again, if you can't transfer, that's understandable, and there's no requirement. But once again, these great operators care about your safety and your comfort during that trip, and that's why they sometimes recommend it.
Nita Robinson has been using the service for a month and says it has been great. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that. Thank you.
We appreciate positive comments as well. One of the questions we got pre-submitted, why are drivers not consistent in adhering to the information on my trip profile when picking me up? Some provide door-to-door assistance and some don't. Some will use the gate code provided to enter the gate and some won't.
Consistency of service is what's important to me, and consistency of service excellence is what is most important to me. So I'm going to ask Ms. Woodson to talk about driver training to help, once again, get that consistency and that level of excellence.
Thank you. Upon hiring any new operators, they go through our operator training development program. In that training program, during the first week, they're in the classroom. And we take that opportunity to make sure that they're educated on the rider's guide for MARTA, all of the different customer service training so that we can make sure that they're not only riding and transporting you safely, but doing it with a good attitude and customer service, because that's just equally important with our safety values. With the fact that any operator is, I forgot the question.
You know, some operators, provide an excellent level of service, and sometimes they don't provide a not so excellent level of service. And we're just talking about maintaining a consistency in training and service delivery.
Right. I apologize for that. So yes, that, like I was saying, in the new hire training, but also in addition to that, we have retraining. So on a monthly basis, we have operator training classes, and that is where we have an hour that's required by all of our operators to come in the classroom so they can get retraining, whether it's wheelchair recertification, customer service retraining, accident training and investigation training, all of the above. So that hour each month that is required and the operators are paid to do so, it's important and it's valuable for us to educate them and re-educate them on any training opportunities necessary.
That's fantastic, Ms. Woodson. Thank you for that. And, I'd like to point out also that our providers, they provide road supervisors that are constantly checks on the road, observing pickups, helping an operator on the spot, mentoring up where they need to be. And that's what's really important. No one wants to get anybody fired. But if someone does need some reinforcement training, some additional mentoring, it's great that they can provide that for someone and get them to the level they need to be a service to you.
And let me just add, in the event that a customer requires door-to-door service, even if it's not listed on the manifest, I believe it's our policy that the driver will render such services.
That is correct, sir.
Yes, I'd like to piggyback off of that if I may. That is required, and also in the training, the operators also are trained to look in their tablet, enter their notes to see any specified or specifics that relates to each one of our passengers. So that is also a training opportunity and a corrective action opportunity as well if the operators are not committed to that, because that gives them specifics whether or not that passenger is door to door. And as Mr. Roosevelt was stating earlier, no, the PCA, they do have the opportunity, but they're not required to. Our operators are required in our training. If the passenger requires door-to-door, they are required to provide that door-to-door service. So they're walking with them by their side to aid them in case something happens. They're trained to do so, so they're professionals, and we don't anticipate or expect the PCA or companion to do a job that the operator is responsible for doing.
Is there a code of conduct for customers and passengers, and what happens? What are the consequences of any violation of that?
Wow, that's a great question. When we talk about accountability, it works both ways, and there is indeed a code of conduct that is encompassed within the Rider's Guide, and I would always suggest everybody to go ahead and take a look at that. And if there are issues with a rider, and the biggest complaints we have come from other riders, it is something that we, the MARTA oversight team, we look into. We are fortunate to have cameras on all the buses, so we can we can kind of dispose of the he said, she said, and get to the heart of the matter and see what happens. And riders, when we see something that violates the code of conduct, they are warned in writing about what behavior is not acceptable on that trip. And to that, we're not looking to deny anybody service, period. We're not here to deny anybody service. And our patience is without depth. I mean, whatever it takes to get you, we're going to work with you. However, once again, there's accountability, and if you can be suspended from the service if the behavior continues, if you're not able to correct it.
Can you please allow the drivers to use the HOV lane?
I'm not, I'm from Florida. Is there a law about the buses using the HOV lane?
Actually, honestly, it's more safer for them to be more closer to the right, because you just don't know what's going to happen being in the HOV lane. This is safety.
It's a safety issue. That is fantastic. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
Andy Poulos lives in Fulton County. However, they work in Cobb County. Can MARTA still take me to work, pick me up from work, even though it isn't in one of the counties of operation?
So we have interlocal agreements with various communities, and Cobb County, we are allowed, and I'm looking over at Mr. Roosevelt, who was going to nod his head, we're allowed to go up to a half a mile within it to get to, no, we're not allowed to go up to a half a mile. We can go over the line to get them to a Cobb County bus stop. We cannot go over the line to get you to a Cobb County bus stop. And however, okay, you can't say no to this one. They can take Route 12 into Cobb County where there is an intermodal stop. There is not Route 12 that goes into it.
Maybe we'll get Mr. Strickland to respond to the question.
And my apologies for the confusion.
The short of the answer is that MARTA has interagency agreements with Cobb County. And when you book a trip with MARTA on paratransit, then MARTA coordinates with the Cobb County folks to have a corresponding pickup trip for Cobb County. And there is a designated location. Is the primary location the Cumberland? The Cumberland Transfer Center at Cumberland Mall. And so what we'll do, we'll coordinate with Cobb County to book the trip there. So shortly after you arrive, you're getting a Cobb County pickup trip. And then vice versa, when you're departing from Cobb, you'll book your trip. We'll coordinate with Cobb County to book the initial trip on Cobb, and then you get to the transfer center, and we'll pick you up from that location.
That is fantastic. So for clarification, Mr. Stripling, so will we be the one that handles that coordination? Will we be the one that helps them with that second leg?
Yes, if you're booking your initial trip on MARTA, then we have a couple individuals within our reservation center who coordinates directly with the reservations group with Cobb County, and then vice versa. If you're booking the trip with Cobb County, they contact us and coordinate the scheduling of your MARTA trip.
That is a fine service that you provide. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Rashad Morgan is asking, can we request U-Serve for all trips instead of bus?
Well, the short answer is going to be no, but you cannot do that. You know, however, you may make that, you can't reserve, let's use that word right now, you can't reserve, and I'm going to use another word, you may request, and we always try to do as best as we can to accommodate you. But sometimes, if we are not able to, if it doesn't make sense, if that trip doesn't make sense, and I probably shouldn't say it that way, but if it's not efficient, if it's going to affect the service, you cannot.
Why are buses rerouted when I'm near my pickup or drop-off spot?
That's another great question. It's not a softball at all. So as the day goes on and trips are canceled and traffic slows down some buses, and you have all through the day, life happens. Sometimes trips have to be moved, and you could be heading home, and indeed the bus gets detoured to pick up someone else. It is going to be a common occurrence, and I would ask for your patience, and I would also say, it is a multi-load, service. And things like that may happen. And you know what? If your vehicle ever broke down and or the vehicle that was coming to pick you up got caught in traffic and a bus was rerouted to assist you, you would be very happy for that.
And I would add too, in many cases we do that, and yet the buses, we allow it provided that the driver adheres to their original travel window.
We still are held accountable for the travel window. Yes, sir.
Can you address?
If I could make
George.
A quick comment.
Yes.
I think earlier I heard a couple of things that I would challenge the group to kind of look into. One, I know we're looking at some enhancements around technology, around route optimization, right?
Yes, sir.
So we would certainly want to explore what type of things we could implement and deploy there. I'd say the other tactic that we would look at, and I think you mentioned it earlier, is that we are looking to utilize kind of contingencies
Yes, sir.
during peak time,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, yeah.
To, you call them
Shooter routes,
shooters
all-
or rescues or
Yes,
things
sir.
like that, but they're peak times during the span of service that we ought to be looking at pre-positioning capacity
Yes, sir.
that can be responsive to things like
Yes, sir.
that.
As if you have that flexibility, we just talked about peak times, and there's another great paratransit vocabulary term that you can throw in there. Our peak times are 7 a.m. That's when we have the most trips on the road, and 2 p.m. And if you can schedule your trips away from those two peaks, you'll have a much better experience, I believe. So always think of that as you make that doctor's appointment, or you're setting up your a trip to Publix, the grocery store, something like that. Try to stay away from those. Once again, that peak. I don't know if I want the peak, and go into the valleys. Try to get when the ridership is not as high for that day. And by the way, it's the same time every day. It's once again 7 a.m. and 2 p.m.
Dolan is asking, can we request that YouServe be put in our profile as a preference, understanding that it's not guaranteed, but preferring it over the bus?
Yes, we may. We can do that, ma'am. Yes, we can. If we can put it in as a preference, and I'm happy. I'm gonna be blunt right now. I am happy to see that we're getting such a positive reaction with YouServe, and as you get familiar with the other services, you're also gonna get to love them. However, if I may remind you, those are all shared ride services. So you may make a new friend traveling hither or thither on those vans, and they pick someone else up.
Can you explain what will call is and when it's supposed to be used? And if I'm on will call, who do I call when I'm ready to be picked up, and how long would the wait time be?
Well, will call is,
As I recall, and I'll throw it over to Mrs. Strickland afterwards, but
Thank you.
I believe that will call is, if you understand, for example, if you're at a doctor's office and you're supposed to be picked up at 2 o'clock and it's 1 o'clock and you haven't been seen yet, you get an opportunity to call MARTA, let us know that you're not going to make it, and we'll put you on the will call. That means when you are ready, you'll give us a call and we'll get you on the first available trip. I may have gotten some of that wrong, so Mr. Strickland, can you hold us to account, please?
Excellent explanation, Mr. General Manager. That's it in a nutshell. If you, and it does not have to be just restricted to medical, as Mr. Gonzalez previously pointed out. We cannot prioritize a trip, but the objective is that prior to your bus scheduled arrival, that you make notification to us that you will not be ready for that pickup time. Then we'll put you on will call. We will caution our customers to understand that, excuse me, when you are ready, and I would encourage you that when you're ready, 30 minutes, okay, I'm gonna be ready in about 30 minutes, hour, to give us a call, because that scheduled return pickup is not guaranteed to be immediate. We're going to have to, again, as previously commented before, put you into an already existing route, and so we're going to find a route to put you in the most, the closest, most convenient route to schedule. It could be, next 15, 20 minutes, or it could be 30 minutes or more before that pickup. So it's important to know to give us a heads-up call in advance when you're not going to be ready, and we'll put you on will call, and then to give us a heads-up advance notice when you're going to be ready.
That's fantastic, Mr. Roosevelt. And I gotta tell you, part of my side-eye glance over to you, we are very fortunate to be a part of the MARTA service, transit service. Will call is a courtesy. Many different transit agencies will make you cancel that trip and then rebook. When you try to rebook, it's like, I don't know when the doctor's going to let me out. I don't know when he's going to see me. And, dialysis, I don't know when I'm going to be off the chair. And those other agencies are like, well, then we'll just schedule you 2 hours out. So this is, once again, an amazing courtesy that is offered by MARTA, and we're lucky, we're fortunate to have it.
Misty Butler is concerned about the rude language that she hears between the bus operators and dispatch over the bus radio system.
That's unacceptable, and if you do experience that, that is something you should notify us of immediately. And what's most important about that is if you notify us immediately, we can pull up the trip, and we can see when you were on that bus, and we can pull up the video, and then we can address it strongly. And I'm going to give Ms. Rosalind another swing at the bat, and she can tell us how seriously they take that type of unprofessionalism.
Actually, we take it very seriously. So what we've been doing lately, and with the OEM side and in the call center and managers, we have been carrying radios and listening. So when we hear it, we address it and we stop it.
I really appreciate that response. It's one thing to wait for the customer to bring it to us, but it's more important that we're proactive in listening for it ourselves. If we establish a culture where the operators understand that management cares enough to be paying attention, I'm so happy to hear that we're acting on behalf of the customer, because our vision, people taking people where they want to go today and tomorrow, the emphasis is we're not transporting packages, we're transporting people, and they don't want to spend their day listening to that kind of behavior.
A positive comment from Eve Van Ellis, giving kudos to April Jackson, Miss Adams, Miss Brown, and Marcus in reservations. So thank you for that.
That is amazing. Ms. Chestnut, those are all your people. You guys are doing an amazing job.
We have a question. Why am I no longer able to book 7 days in advance? Why do I need to call every day?
I should be putting Ms. Chestnut on the spot, but I will not. I'll do it. This is temporary. This is temporary. We're using it to help with our scheduling, and it is something that we will do away with and go back to our previous previous policy. So we do ask for your patience, and once we get some items fixed and that process improves, we will go back. I appreciate your patience.
And it's some of the reason for that process adjustment is our agents have limited opportunity to deal with everyone. So there's this big backlog of people waiting to book tomorrow's important trip, but the agent is busy taking a week's worth of trips from someone else. So we figure limiting it this way will allow us to get the important trips done up first.
And if I may sell something else to you again, that is the subscription. And if you are traveling at the same place on the same day at the same time, set up a subscription. So that way you don't have to keep calling in and rebooking that same trip that you take consistently. And if you call in and you cancel a day, that's fine. That's great, not a problem, and you can still maintain the rest of your subscription. And I recommend anybody who has the ability to do that. If you have if your physical therapy takes place at the same time, if you like to go to Publix, every week at the same time, then go ahead, set up Miss Chestnut and her team will help you set it up. And once again, it makes that experience so much better.
Are the operators required to tie down walkers or food carts or any other movable objects if they're asked?
Yes, well, no, not even with their ask. They're required to secure all those items. And if you see an operator who does not, once again, let us know immediately.
One of our customers is asking when the Breeze fare and the cash box will be fixed. I don't know if that's system-wide or on just particular vehicles.
As of right now, every single vehicle that you ride has an ability now to accept cash. And for our new partners on board, we are working to somehow get a card reader on board with them. If as you know, those are sedans and those are SUVs, and the Breeze equipment has to be bolted in. So we're looking for a workaround on that.
The ETA line has exceptionally long wait times, not reservations. Is there a plan to decrease those wait times?
Yes, ma'am, and this is not a brush off, but the plan is to improve OTP. Once OTP is improved, you have no need to call in for an ETA because you have a certain amount of confidence your bus will be there within the window. OTP. Yes, sir. My apologies, what did I say?
No, OTP is on-time performance.
Oh, yes. I apologize if I, go into the nomenclatures too much.
Should we go by the time provided by the imminent arrival call or the original 30-minute window?
Well, when you're giving that pickup window, it's 30 minutes from then. And that's what we measure. Now, some places, they'll give you the middle of the window, and you got 15 minutes on each side. Some places will give you the end of the window, and you go backwards from there. But ours, we'll give you that time, and we have 30 minutes from there.
One of our questions is asking for more explanation of the 30-minute window. Is there more to it? Can you get into more detail?
Not really, quote unquote, more to it. So let's keep the math simple. I like simple math. Your pickup window is 12 p.m. noon. Your pickup window is 12 p.m. noon. That means that operator has from 12 p.m. noon to 12:30 to get you, which means for that 30 minutes you must be ready. You must be ready for when he arrives to board the bus or van or sedan and continue or start your trip.
How does UServe choose passengers?
They do not. They do not choose passengers. So all three of those brand new partners on board are pretty much traditional paratransit partners. Their trips are assigned to them, and through our trapeze system, they have a manifest, and they follow their manifest.
One of our customers is concerned about the markings on the vehicles. It says, other than the mobility van, can someone please call to inform us in advance? We're elderly, and when an unmarked car comes to our homes, we need to know if it's truly mobility with so much going on in the world today.
Well, that's a great question. So first off, if you see an unmarked car picking you up, we need to know immediately. And by the way, weekly, the mobility oversight team goes out and they observe a trip from these three new providers, and then they go ahead and they record their findings, and we keep a file, and that's important to us. This service is new. This service is new all over the United States, this type of service. So, we're feeling our way through it. We have the growing pains, but we're happy to have them on board. And as you see, when people talk about UServe, they're appreciated. So the branding will be different because these aren't the big cutaways, but there should be branding of some type on them.
Do we require the operator to show proof of ID, different things like that? Just what type of checks and balances do we have?
Well, Ms. Woodson, you guys had put together an excellent oversight policy. So can you tell us what the expectations are for these three organizations?
Sure. So for all of our partners, the transit partners, Big Star, Silver Ride, as well as UServe, we have purchased MARTA magnets. And the magnets are required to be on the passenger side of all the vehicles, so that as soon as the vehicle arrives, you should see a magnet. In addition to the magnet, we have like a sticker that's in the front passenger window as well. Now, it's not so visible if the window is tinted. However, we have the magnet as well as the little sticker that's on the wall, on the front of the car, as well as the driver's identification. All of the drivers, even if they're MARTA drivers, we have the MARTA ID badges. In addition to that, all of our partners have the MARTA ID badges as a contractor. So they should all have that to help with the safety and security of your trip.
Let me ask one more, and not to put you on the spot. I would imagine we occasionally carry people that are visually impaired. They might not see that magnet. They would struggle with someone, even with someone's ID. What type of check do we have for that?
The operators are asked to actually announce themselves, because we do recognize that some people may have visual impairments, so they may not be able to identify and then even, not even the colors. So we ask them to make sure that they announce that they are MARTA contractor here to pick up and state the passenger's name, just for, safety as well, so to make sure that they're picking up the right passenger and to assure that passenger that they are being picked up by a MARTA contractor.
Thank you, Ms. Woodson. That's a great explanation of all the lengths to which MARTA will go to make sure that the person waiting for the ride is assured that it's the right person picking them up. Those magnetized placards, the large MARTA identifiers on the side of the vehicle is a great example. But like we said at the beginning of this session, we are here to listen. It sounds like we're giving answers to all of these questions, and make no mistake, there are a number of us taking notes about the concerns that continue to surface. So notwithstanding all the efforts we've done, we recognize then that through these questions, there's still some level of concern about how a customer makes sure that the person picking them up is representing MARTA. So we'll take that back, and if we can make further improvements in that area, we'll do that.
There's also some concern about non-MARTA vehicles that are not handicap accessible upon arrival. And they're saying that when that happens, they have to wait additional time for an accessible vehicle to be sent. They're concerned about this and asking what we're doing to resolve the issue.
You know, when something like that happens, it is a booking error. Trapeze, the software we use, disallows you to assign a vehicle to someone if you're using a mobility device like a wheelchair or a scooter, and Trapeze will not even let you schedule it to a vehicle that is not accessible. So when something like that happens, there was an error, whether during the reservation process, or maybe within within Trapeze, we put down the type of vehicle you need, the accommodation you need. We can check that to see what's going on. So when something like that happens, please let us know immediately.
I know we talked about this earlier, but we do have a question about operators assisting a customer into a facility. This individual says that are there exceptions to that rule for the visually impaired who may need that extra assistance getting into the building?
My apologies for what I'm about to say, but no, there are no exceptions. The driver, for the safety of other people who may be on the vehicle, the driver should never lose sight of his vehicle. And for the safety of the rider, they should never have a driver go into their home. Yeah, and I shouldn't put it that way. You know, for the safety of the rider, it's just it's just that we trust these drivers. They are transporting a very vulnerable population, and they're well trained. And once again, I'm going to be blunt. When you talk about the service standard, you get a guy or a lady with just a big heart. Sometimes they do go in there and put those groceries on the counter, and they shouldn't, because then that's the service expectation someone may have for every driver after that.
We recommend that our customers, if they need a companion or someone that's designated to assist them beyond the parameters that a driver would, that they make those arrangements separately.
Ms. Devine is asking, will the fare still be $4 each trip, or is it going up?
Our fares match the fixed route fares.
Leisha Miller has reached back out again and asked if we could restate the date again to be able to set up your own reservation. I know, Rick, you had mentioned it. I think earlier you were talking of the training for this.
Well, first off, I misspoke on something, and Mr. Roosevelt is going to correct us. Is that what he's getting up to do? Yes, he is. Thank you. Thank you. This is, I want to say, for everything that positive that happens with mobility, it's because of gentlemen like Mr. Roosevelt. It's because of ladies with like Ms. Davis. And whenever there is a misinformation put out or a misstep, that is on me.
Thank you, Rick. For clarification, MARTA's fare, the mobility fare, matches fixed route fare to the degree that it is allowed to be twice as much as the fixed route fare. FTA allows MARTA, any transit agency that has 88 paratransit, to have a fare set at twice the fixed route rate. However, MARTA, as a customer-focused and friendly organization, our fare is not at that level. So our fare is lower than what it could be. It's currently set at $4, which is less than twice the rate.
The question about the reservations, do you want me to repeat
That
it
would
from
be
Leisha
kind,
Miller? I think she was asking what the date was again, if you wanted to be able to set up your own reservation.
Are they asking for the website again to go online to set up their own reservation?
I'm not sure. And I know that we're going to be providing some contact information at the end of the Q&A session, so maybe we can encourage Ms. Miller to reach out and we can get her.
Ms. Miller, do not
answered.
hesitate to call us, and as they say, watch this space. You know, keep an eye on our YouTube channel, And hopefully, in an expeditious manner, we'll have those videos up and running.
The Mobility Rider's Guide states that the maximum weight of a package is 25 pounds. What other measures can be taken when packages are over 25 pounds and the passenger does not have a PCA companion to assist them? Some operators can't help with packages more than 25 pounds.
Well, thank you very much. That is a great question, and it is our hope. It is our hope that you know, you stay within the guidance, you know, and you know, and adhere to our policy. And then when you do that, oh, someone's raising their hand. I apologize.
No, that was me saying that I think Collie might have.
Oh, sir. Oh, okay. Well, you know, I don't mean to sound curt, but there's a reason for policies, and there's a reason for standards, and we hope that that as riders, once again, we talk about accountability, you stay within those standards. And you know, if you brought 50 pounds worth of groceries, you know, onto the bus, it's not fair to the operator who's going to assist you to get that on there. And so that's and I to point to the policy and just say, well, obey the policy, you won't run into that. That's not a good answer, and I do apologize for it. But it is important, once again, when we talk about consistency, you know, that's what policies are for, to keep things consistent. So stay within the 25 pounds, and our operators will be able to assist you.
I think that's great, Rick, that, you know, it's sometimes no is a good answer. And in a case like this, that's what it is. We are about our employees as well. We don't want our employees making double trips to the doorway to go back and get more packages because people decided to split the 50 pounds into 2 packages. And just like an airline, if you're too heavy, they're going to say no. So it requires some planning, but 25 pounds is the limit.
Jay Benz asks, why is the callback feature still on the reservation line? Often a call is at a high number in the queue, and callback calls are dropped after a certain number, like 10 or more.
You know what? We're gonna address that. We're gonna address that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. That's why I appreciate these question and answer periods.
Do we want to address that further?
Mr. Coral, sir, you're the one that controls that on-off switch. Can you come up and address that?
And how do you operate this thing?
It should be on. Yeah.
Is it? Okay, good day, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address this. So basically, the callback service is there for the customers. Instead of having to wait in the queue, you do get a chance to basically leave your number, say you're going to get a call back, and it does function. However, there are some mishaps, of course, that happen, and calls do get dropped when there are too many calls in the queue line. I have been working with the network team and the IT applications team to help solve these problems. Really, it's ongoing what we're doing. We have minimized it by basically making the cap larger so that more people can get into the queue without this happening, so it doesn't drop off. But when those calls get so high, especially during peak hours toward the end of the day when 20, 30 people are calling in all at once, we still do have this bandwidth problem, but it is actively being looked at by our network team and also by our applications team. So I do appreciate the patience that you are having with us, but we are working to solve this issue currently.
Delton, thank you very much for that answer, and thank you very much for the hard work you put in upgrading our Trapeze software and stabilizing the servers.
All right, thank you for your time.
Is it fair to say that, one of the ways we help ourselves is getting that on-time performance up so people don't have a reason to call, and we continue to leverage, the technology that's out there where someone doesn't have to necessarily get on the phone. They can use their phone or their desktop and things like that. So I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure we let the market know we have those capabilities and we perform.
100%, sir.
Yeah.
Rick, remind us, I think you mentioned this earlier, are additional buses being purchased to accommodate the increasing number of riders? Sometimes it seems trips are canceled due to not having enough vehicles.
Well, first part, yes. Like I said before, we are working digitally through a procurement process to get 10 vehicles within our service. And those great organizations of USERV and Silveride and Big Star have been bringing on extra capacity for us. And also we are working to improve what's called our efficiency, trips per hour. And that's also going to help us absorb this rider growth. And I want to say emphatically, no trip is ever canceled due to capacity issues. MARTA Mobility Services has never denied a trip, and we never will.
We have another positive comment from Lydia Wynn. She says her drivers are always courteous and reservations is always helpful and courteous.
Lydia, thank you very much for that comment, ma'am. And I hope we continue to make your experience with us enjoyable.
We have a question. If someone is blind or visually impaired and they need to be notified that the vehicle is outside, when regular vehicles arrive, there's no backup signal to alert the customer that the vehicle is there. Should they're suggesting that the operator come to the door and call the customer.
If the operator cannot locate you, if you're not outside, then the operator is required to inform dispatch, and dispatch will give you that courtesy call.
States that passengers are to be contacted if the van is late or before a no-show as a courtesy.
There is a policy that the passenger should be contacted before there is a no-show. We are working on a process to call someone or notify someone if a van is late. And that is why that transit app that you saw that can go on your phone is of great importance, because you can track that vehicle from its one stop to the next stop to you.
We have a lot of questions, and we've addressed this a couple of times, but I think it's worth reiterating. What are operators allowed to assist passengers with while they are boarding and exiting the bus? What can they help them with? How can they assist them as they get to their destination?
An operator should be assisting with packages. An operator should be assisting with their mobility device. And if they are ambulatory, an operator should always be by their side, offering an elbow or a hand to steady them and get them to the door or to where they're trying to get into.
Deborah Brewster says she agrees that $4 for the fare is cheaper than other transportation choices. She says Lyft prices are higher, so I am so grateful for your affordable rate.
Thank you very much. We take great pride in the service and the value we bring to it.
I'll point out on behalf of MARTA in general, our fares at $2.50. We haven't had a fare increase in over 11 years, so that's it's consistent with MARTA's approach to making sure that we're as affordable as we can be to the people we serve.
A question about USERV. It seems to take passengers straight to their destinations, getting there way too fast, and they still have to abide by the time set by the LVAN.
Well, this is the first complaint I ever had. I've heard that I got there too quickly. And that is USERV. They're efficient, and I'm going to be blunt. Sometimes a sedan or a smaller SUV is easier to maneuver throughout this great Atlanta traffic, and there are drop-off windows, and if you believe that you're getting there too soon, give us a call and we'll review that trip.
Remind us what's considered an excessive time on the vehicles. Someone told this customer 90 minutes, and they're saying that's too long for their trip.
Well, we'd have to look at by trip, because don't forget, we compare it to a fixed route or a train plus 30. So that is, if you believe, and I ask you in all sincerity, because once again, we improve ourselves through your input. If you believe you're on a van too long, if you believe there was an onboard violation, as we call it, you let us know.
And I know we've addressed this, but we've gotten several comments about it, so definitely someone make sure that we make note of this, is the way that the vehicles can be identified. There's just some concern over that. It says, with many different transportation companies, is there a way that the vehicles can be more unified, have the same type of ID or signs, so that they can make sure it's mobility?
That's a great question, and I've reached out to LA Access. I've reached out to the transit agency in Cincinnati, and I've reached out to Palmtran and Dallas Area Rapid Transit to see what they're doing. And LA Access had the most interesting solution, because you see the Domino pizza the triangles on top of a vehicle, and that's what they use. And I don't know if we're going to do that yet, but we are, like I said, placing magnets on the side of these vehicles. And if you believe that that branding needs to be improved, you let us know, and we will look into that. And what I mean, we will. I mean, this is a very serious thing for us, because it is new, and we want it to work. We want it to work, because this is such a great opportunity to bring this form of transportation and this capacity to the riders of our system. So, help us make it better, and give us your input.
And I know OTP, on-time performance, has been a common theme tonight. Just asking if they could please be picked up in a timely manner to get to appointments on time, because often there's an additional late fee, and sometimes they have waited months to get that appointment.
I apologize for that experience, and do not ever hesitate to call in and let us know what happened, and even, reach out to me, and I'll give you a call back. And,
I think it's fair to say that whether you're relying on MARTA Mobility or our fixed route service or driving your own vehicle, I'm sure everyone here, when they're attending a very important appointment, they leave themselves extra time. That said, there are times when our mobility service has failed to meet people's needs, even though they have given themselves extra time. That's where that on-time performance measure comes in. So we heard our providers stand and deliver this evening a promise that they are going to meet or exceed our 90% on-time performance requirement. And 90% is not perfect, but it does leave room for us as individuals to continue to leave enough time for the unexpected, for the traffic jam, for the vehicle breakdown. So while MARTA will continue to do our utmost to get to 90 and beyond, I think it's important that we remind all of our customers to share in that responsibility when the appointment's super important.
Our Parks has a comment. They are visually impaired, and they don't always have access to a companion. So they're asking, can someone make sure that they safely get off the bus and to a door? They think that should be standard procedure.
You're absolutely correct. And if there's ever a failure on the operator's part to provide that level of service, please let us know immediately.
Contingent upon the operator being able to stay in the line of sight of the vehicle.
Well done, sir. Yes, indeed. Very much so, yes.
I've run through all of the questions that were pre-submitted, and we have one final one coming in online. What if they have a problem with online booking?
Well, you let us know, and over the phone, we'll provide a little tech support, see if we can help you out. And like I said, keep an eye on this space. We'll be posting how-to videos that will assist you in that endeavor.
I'd like to offer an opportunity to you, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Wright, and Mr. Greenwood, if you'd like to make any closing remarks to address the folks that have joined us online.
Holy cow, thank you, gentlemen, for allowing me to go first. So this Saturday, I'm meeting with the Federation of the Blind, their chapter, to discuss our service with them. Shout out to Miss Dorothy Griffith. I'm sure she's on here listening. And you know what? I really enjoy doing that. I really enjoy that face-to-face dialogue, because not only, and I always talk about making sure I'm making sure people have the correct expectation about the level of service. I got to make sure I know what their expectation of us is. And I learn more, and I arm myself, with that knowledge and to try to improve their service. And man, it breaks my heart if someone's injured on our buses. It breaks my heart if someone has a missed appointment or a missed meal or just a bad time, and it's our fault. And I don't want anybody to have that. And I want to thank everybody for their patience. I want to promise you that you're going to see some great changes. Because we didn't only just challenge our providers, we challenged ourselves to provide you with better service. And I want to thank you for being here during to taking the time to sit with us here. And this was an exchange, and I appreciate an exchange. And I look forward, as like I say, keep an eye on this space as we do our road shows. We're going to be doing road shows and going to different communities. Every quarter will be someplace. And so I look forward to one day meeting all of you in person in the future.
And Rick, I wanted to say also, Donna Jones just wrote in. She uses the MARTA Cobb connection and would love to commend Liz in reservations.
Oh, Ms. Chestnut, please let Liz know that, okay? Thank you, ma'am.
I will start off by saying that this engagement has been very nourishing for me. I'm probably the novice up here when it comes to an ADA solution and impaired transit mobility solution. So this was an excellent learning experience for me. I was on the really focused on the rail side of things when we had our last in-person town hall back in 19, and I look forward to us being able to do that maybe the next time we do this. And I know it's been a tough few years with the pandemic, but I'm looking forward to an opportunity where we could really do this face to face and engage. And there are probably some innovative things we can do beyond this type of forum where we can really get some face time with our customers. So that's something I'm going to be thinking about. I will tell the audience that our customers that you have my commitment. When we talk about performance, operational excellence, the customer experience, meeting commitments, that's my North Star. That's why I exist in this role. That's why I come to work. And you have my commitment that I'm all in to fix what's not right, sustain what is right, and continuously improve. So thank you very much.
And not much to add. I will say it makes me proud as the general manager to sit here and recognize the number of MARTA employees and MARTA supporters and contracted assistants that will spend their time. It's nearly 8 o'clock at night and everyone's here engaged in making sure that we serve our customers. It's not just physically, geographically, point A to point B, but it's engagements like this that serve them better. Mr. Wright talked about 2019, the first time we had a mobility customer town hall that was in person, and it was a packed house. That was pre-COVID, of course, and then the thought of a packed house after that made everybody nervous. So we've found, ways to bring ourselves back together using technology. But I agree that that palpable energy of bringing people together is something that has served us well. And I will say, this is now the third town hall that we've held. And each year, our service improves based on the feedback that we got from the year before. I was really proud last year when we listed, all the things that people had said, and then visually we had a board that showed everything that was done. We even had some customers stand up and say, yeah, I was the one that complained about that last year, and it is fixed. So nothing makes us happier than, the face-to-face visceral response from people that recognize that we're trying. We are not perfect. We know that. And I think the USERV example is a good one, that I suppose we could wait for perfection, or we could just get progress and start to serve people and then depend on that kind of feedback to improve it. We heard loud and clear about visibility and confirmation, so I have no doubt that Richard and George are working on that. And finally, I want to thank you, Richard. I recognize that, we had you on the hotspot here. There's nothing like publicly and on camera answering questions when you don't know what the question's going to be and having a host of people looking at you to see if you get it right. I think you did very well. I think you relied on a strong team, and Mr. Stripling bailed us out a number of times. But, thank you, and that's indicative of the servant leadership that we're looking for here at MARTA. We want to make sure that you, the customer, understand that we know we're not perfect, and we know we're not going to get it all right, but we're here and we're trying, and we'll continue to improve.
And we certainly encourage you to continue to reach out, to share your experience, positive, negative. We want to engage with you, and we want to help solve any of these issues as they come up. Rick, would you do me a favor, and we'll put up the slide that shows the way that our customers can contact us, and just let people know the best way to reach out to your team and how they can get service.
Well, sure thing. Never hesitate. Let me say this. You ever have an experience that is not up to standard, never hesitate to reach out to me. And there's my email right there. And, the first thing I'm going to do when I get the email and after I read it, I'm going to respond back and say, hey, can you give me your phone number? So I can talk to you. You're not going to be typing back and forth with me. So there it is, rgonzalez1@itsmarta.com. That means there's another R. Gonzalez here. I got to meet him one day. So also, if you look up there, you'll see the email and the phone for the MARTA's Customer Service Center. And those are some dedicated, patient, empathetic people that are ready to talk to you and talk about your experience and they pass that they categorize it and they pass that information up to us and our providers. So it's important and it's a bellwether of what we need to look at and what we need to pay attention to. So that's important. And then finally the MARTA Mobility Virtual Town Hall meeting available until June 15th, 2024. There is that very long email, and also there's a phone. Please use it. You could use it up until June 15th, but you know what? My email is going to be on all the time, so never hesitate also to reach out to me. And I want to thank everybody. Again, I want to thank, Mr. Green and Mr. Wright, and you know what? They have very high expectations for this service. They're the ones that drive my team, myself, our partners to provide you and to provide you, quality service and to strive, for excellence. And other places, mobility is an afterthought. Not at MARTA. It's forefront in everybody's mind. And I am so proud to be, I'm only here a year. I've been here a year, and I am so proud to say I'm part of this organization.
Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Wright, Mr. Greenwood, everybody with the MARTA Mobility team, all of our partners who joined us, and of course I want to thank everyone who joined us online to learn more about MARTA, to learn more about our mobility service, and to learn more about how you can improve the service on your end and how we can best serve you. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.